everyone, I'm here with another video in the Fallen Angel series. This one is about Gamigin. So, Gamigin is number 4 in the Goetia or Goetia. I never know how to pronounce it. But anyway, he is number 4 in the list of fallen angels. And so, some people say it's a he, some a she, and I've noticed that with some of these entities, there seems to be like gender seems to be a bit in conflict. There'll be imagery that suggests it's feminine, but some people will use a male pronoun, some will use a female pronoun. So we'll just say they and make it gender neutral. You can think that this entity is male or female. Now, this entity presents itself as a pony, and it's known to have kind of a hoarse voice. Gamigin, I was looking at the origins of kind of the word and where it comes from, and I couldn't find anything really about it. But if you look back to ancient mythology, almost all of the cultures around the Middle East and Europe have gods and goddesses that are connected with horses. You have to think about how important horses were to transportation, farming, war, all of those things. Horses were just very, very important. So it's not surprising they show up in kind of that in sacred imagery, because they are, so important to society at the time. And they really represent the movement between one world and the next, movement from here to there, freedom, the ability to travel. So it's not surprising that when we look at, something like the Lesser Key of Solomon, that there would be a horse entity here as well. So Gamigin, it presents itself as a pony specifically, and like I said, it's known to have kind of this hoarse voice, and they are said to teach the liberal arts, which was grammar and debate, astronomy, astrology. You gotta remember back then, astronomy and astrology were kind of the same things, and languages as well. And it's interesting that there are so many of these so-called demons that teach the liberal arts and the sciences and mathematics, because you have to remember that during medieval times, the church really had a stranglehold on knowledge, the church and the wealthy, and they really didn't want people to have that, because knowledge is power. Education is power. And if you can read, if you can debate, if you know languages, that makes you a lot more powerful in the world. And so, they wanted to control knowledge, and certainly there were people who were, killed for for having knowledge or for questioning things. And you even see that nowadays with certain extremist groups who don't want people to have knowledge, who try to decry education, to say that, oh, people are educated or elitist, all of these kind of things. And that was, that's a very similar attitude. So, I think it's funny that so many of these fallen angels are attributed to education, and yet how is that evil, right? So we have to kind of question some of these things. The other thing that this particular entity is in charge of is finding sailors who were lost at sea, souls that have drowned, and taking them to the afterlife. Also, souls that were considered to be in what they called limbo. Limbo was this idea that besides heaven and hell, you also had purgatory and limbo. So, heaven obviously was for people who were good, and hell for people really bad. Purgatory was like if you weren't perfect. It was kind of like you had to go to jail before you got to heaven. You kind of had to go to this place. And limbo was this in-between place that was neither of those things. And that's where they used to say that the souls of unbaptized babies or people who committed suicide went. And with Gamigin, his or her role was to guide these lost souls to heaven, or guide these lost souls to where they should be. So it's very much, you think of a pony, you think of you ride on their back, taking you places, and so it has that connection with that. Now, this particular card here, this is from the Dictionary Infernal, which is from the 1800s. It's French. And we have here, teaches all liberal sciences, gives an account of souls that died in sin. So it also has knowledge of, this has the connection with the suicide thing. It has knowledge of those that died and they used to think of suicide as a sin. They used to think of it as something that was going to, if you died that way, they called it the unforgivable sin, where it was like, well, you're lost. And of course, these days, we know that people commit suicide because of mental illness, because of depression. It's not something where the person is doing something evil. We prefer to say that people died of suicide because it's a result of illness, right? So you got to remember medieval mind thinking, these old ways of thinking were like, oh, well, they thought of it as a sinful thing, so that's why they put that there. So that's the drawing from the Dictionary Infernal. For this particular deck, they've placed them as the Five of Pentacles, which I can kind of see because the Five of Pentacles is about when you don't think that you have help, but help is there. And so this particular spirit is really about getting that help when you don't think you have help available to you. Now, this is from the Fallen Angels Oracle. You won't see a horse here. I really wish they had put a horse here. We have sort of an angel reaching towards the light here, which again, I can kind of see, but I would have preferred a pony here. But anyway, with this deck, it's really talking about being lost and finding your way, about how you can, when you're in despair, when you feel like there's no way out, sometimes there's insights or people can bring you a message that brings you hope and brings you back on your way. So this card is really about not despairing and about finding your way back to your path, finding where you're supposed to go. Now this is from the Goetia Tarot or Goetia Tarot, and it is they've associated Gamigin with the Queen of Pentacles. And here they have her as kind of this lovely, sexy centaur. Definitely has that pony connection. You see she's got the scroll in her hand here representing knowledge. And then we've got all these, I don't know if you can see in this light because of the way the camera goes, but there's all these books and things here talking about knowledge. And I mean, really, knowledge and the ability to access things like education can really help us to find our way out of things. Like education can be a ladder to other opportunities. If you think of the imagery of drowning, which Gamigin's associated with helping drowned sailors find their way, education is really a path out of things. It's a path out of, drowning in poverty, so to speak. So I can definitely, see where that association can come in. They have as the Queen of Pentacles, which is really about opportunity and abundance. And it's very much about being able to care for what you have. Now, I don't know about the Queen of Pentacles association with this particular deck. I actually find the Five of Pentacles to be a little more, I would associate it a little more with what Gamigin represents. So Gamigin is, he helps people find their way to where they're supposed to go, helps people out of confusion, helps people out of loss. And he's known to be, sort of like blunt. He's that hoarse voice, but he speaks the truth. So, it's hard to see, it's like, oh, why is this classified as a demon? This seems like a really helpful spirit, finding a lot of people who are lost, helping them on their way. But again, you have to remember that at the time, the powerful didn't want everyone to have access to information and didn't want people to be able to climb up the ladder, so to speak. So, it's important to remember the times that these were sort of made in. Now, I looked in pop culture. There is a video game that I guess has different demons in it, and it has this one as a horse, Gamigin. So that's kind of funny. It has it in there. I didn't find any horror movies or anything that have this particular spirit in it. I do joke there is a cartoon on, it's YTV in Canada, and it's probably Nickelodeon in the States. But it's hard to know because Nickelodeon is American, and I think we have cartoons that on YTV that Nickelodeon doesn't have. But anyway, there's this cartoon advertised, it's just called Pony, and it's about a girl and her pony friend. And I joke that the pony, his real name is Gamigin. So, but I'm like, it's Gamigin, he's the one that's helping her. But anyway, side note. But I do find it, interesting that, some of these entities don't seem to have like this negative side where it seems obvious that they would be classified as a demon. There's actually like quite a few that are helpful, and so it's interesting that they get classified as well. we have to remember too that back then anything that didn't fall directly under, the umbrella of the church was considered to be evil. And so anything that was pagan, anything that was from folklore, anything that didn't fit into their worldview, what would be classified as this. So I think that's important when you're doing research on these entities, to remember those kind of things. So I hope you found this interesting. Gamigin's one of my favorites. And yeah, if you haven't, let me know what you think, what your thoughts are, what associations you have. Let me know. I would love to hear, and we'll continue on this series and see where it goes. And as always, thank you so much for all of your love and support. Especially thank you to my patrons. You guys are amazing. And a big shout out to Nathan, Nicole, and Marie. You guys are so amazing, all of you. Thank you so much for your love and support, and I will be back soon with another demon.